This episode of the If It Were Up to Us podcast was previously recorded. On July 4th, 2025, Central Texas was hit by catastrophic flooding and many lives were lost, including children. As moms, it's impossible to not feel the heartbreak of the families that lost little ones in such a sudden and tragic way.
In a previous episode, we talked about how this area in Texas that's now facing such devastation could be considered the ultimate theme park location. It's surreal for us to think, as we so recently envisioned this being a place for entertainment and fun, to it now being the site of such unimaginable loss. This disaster is a harsh reminder of how fragile life is and how quickly everything can shift.
If you're listening from afar and wondering how you can help, here are several organizations accepting donations: the American Red Cross, Kure County Flood Relief, Texar.
Please join us in keeping those impacted and their loved ones in your thoughts and prayers. Well, hi, and welcome back to If It Were Up to Us. How you doing today, Steph?
I'm great. How are you today?
I am doing pretty good. You know, we had my son's 4th birthday party over the weekend, and so I feel like I'm finally putting my house back together and just getting my life back in order after all of the birthday chaos and the party. And you know, I don't know if it was this way with your kids, but we hit the age where we're inviting school friends and not my husband and I's friends. So it was 25 4-year-olds all together. Thank God it was not in my house or I would have died. But it was still complete chaos.
Oh, I bet. Birthday parties are overwhelming. And the lead up to just get them ready is a lot. And then you have the actual day and you're hoping everybody has a good time. Everybody has what they need. And then you can finally chill after that. No, I get it. And I think it really, when you start inviting school friends, it's like a whole new thing.
Right? Yeah, it was the school friends and the parents. And so, yeah, I feel like we're finally getting back to our routine after all of it and trying to eat the leftover cake.
Oh gosh. Did you have a lot left over?
We did. I was surprised.
Yeah. You got to start sending that home with everybody. Here,
I should
you have a brother and sister at home. Take this to grandma and
Right.
grandpa. Send
Take
it all
to
home.
grandma and grandpa. Yeah, that's what I should have shipped cake across the country to my family, but yeah.
I don't know about that.
Yeah. So what's been going on in your world?
Oh gosh, not much. My daughter's finishing up gymnastics. She did a 5-week program, so that's ending this week, and pretty much that. It's summer, and I feel like summer's already almost gone. I actually went into the store yesterday, and they're already putting summer apparel on sale and bringing in school stuff, and I'm just not ready for that. And I was thinking I need to start penciling in some things into the calendar of stuff I wanted to do with the kids this summer, because I'm just not going to get to them if I don't.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I'm at. And it's been record high here. I feel like we're in Texas. The last 3 days, the real feel has been 100, and that is insane. So if you don't know, the listeners, I live in northwest Pennsylvania, so really close to Erie, PA. We have the Great Lakes, all of that fun stuff. And so it gets warm here, and it's humid in the summer, but real feel of 100, especially at this point in June, is kind of insane. So
yeah, I always joke, and I'm anything over 98, the earth has a fever, and I don't need to go outside.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I was saying to my husband. I was like, we should have just moved to Florida, because in the summer, the locals kind of stay inside more, and in the winter they're out and about, where it's opposite here. In the winter we're all hunkered in, and in the summer we're out. I'm like, see, we could have would have been fine in Florida.
Yeah, these kind of days make you miss that winter snow and the getting cozy.
I don't know about that. Let's
maybe
say
that's just the Texas in me that I idealize.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe fall 70s, where you can have a fire outside, where you don't feel like you're on fire.
Right.
Maybe
yes.
that.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. For sure. So I think we
should.
Do we have any news that we want to chat about? Oh, wait.
Well,
I
were
do
you
have
part of the
news.
Oogie Boogie chaos?
I wasn't. Were you?
No, I wasn't. I didn't have any to get this this go around.
No,
so.
me neither. I actually was like, maybe I should just do this for myself. Like, I'm going to fit in another trip in this year.
Right, sure.
Because I want to know why it's so crazy. So maybe I should be doing it. You know, that like peer pressure, like maybe I need to be doing this.
Right, yeah, you see all the other people doing it, and you're like, I should probably do this too, yeah.
So my little news, and let's just say this is alleged news, okay? I don't want to say it's fact. But because this kind of ties into our topic from episode 1, is that allegedly Disney has put in permits or whatever that you do when you are going to build something for a 5th major theme park and 2 smaller parks. And that's just, again, allegedly, and like what's being released all over the internet. I even saw People magazine was sharing about this. So it's kind of funny because we were just talking about like, could they do that there? So it seems maybe they can, allegedly. And we don't know to the extent, but I thought it was kind of funny that we had just talked about this and then that came out.
Yeah, I feel like we literally just got done talking about, can they really do that? And no, we should move it to Texas because they can't. And turns out maybe they can. So yeah, I think it's crazy to think that would happen. And so when you shared that with me, one, my first thought was that's crazy, and also how relevant, right? Yeah. But 2, my other thought was like, what would they do with it, right? Like, because they've already announced this villains themed area in Magic Kingdom. Like, I always kind of thought the 5th gate would be a villains kind of theme park, you know? So it would be interesting to me to see then how they would theme that park, you know? Or would it be something like Epic Universe where you have portals into different unrelated lands? I don't know.
Oh, yeah, maybe. I don't know. And I hope that obviously I would love to have a 5th park, but I don't want them to put their eggs in too many baskets. Like, I don't see much happening with those expansions that they already say are happening. I mean, aside from them kind of dismantling Dino Land, there's not much action happening, and a lot of attractions that need to close are just now closing or aren't until the end of the year. So I hope, like, can we finish some of these things? Or is this going to be Mary Poppins all over again in Epcot? Because, like, come on.
Oh my gosh, I forgot about that news that came out, right? And then they were like, just kidding.
Yeah, no, we're not doing that. Just wanted to get all of you really excited to just be like, no.
Yeah, we really just wanted you to hashtag everything, and then we're not going to do anything.
Yeah, exactly. So I think we should probably recap just a little bit of like what episode 1 was, and then kind of tell them what the plan is for today.
Yeah, so if you haven't listened to episode 1, we highly suggest that you do, because we had a whole conversation around where we would put our ultimate domestic Disney destination. And we ended up deciding that we would bring it to Texas, kind of within the San Antonio-Austin corridor. So as a Texan, I am very excited to have this pretend park near my home.
Maybe it won't be pretend. And now that they, are teasing about 5th theme park and stuff, maybe they'll actually listen to us and be like, these girls have really good ideas. Yeah. You never know.
If only,
That's not gonna happen.
I feel like I live by the line of, well, nobody asked me, so but maybe this time they will.
Yeah, maybe they need to ask us. Right? I don't know. So,
yeah. And then we also talked in episode 1 a little bit about what we're going to be talking about today, which was kind of the overall theme, or what we kind of envision our castle park being.
Yes. So I think we're both in agreement that this is like fantasy based kingdom. Mm-hmm. So don't expect a lot of like real factual things happening here.
Right.
So I think it's best to just start from the outside in. So I think where I said in episode 1, I need you to remember everything about the theme parks. I do, because I need you to be visualizing this, but I also need you to break up with your idea of exactly how things are supposed to look. Yeah. So what do you envision the outside of the Magic Kingdom when you're scanning into the gates to look like?
Okay, so here has been my one issue with Magic Kingdom. While I love like the Bay Lake idea, right? And I think it's beautiful. I think it totally sucks when it comes to getting to Magic Kingdom unless you're staying on property. Because you have to go to the Ticket and Transportation Center to get there. So my first thing, was to be somewhat like Disneyland, where kind of there's a hub for the entrances to the parks, as if there was like, a hub in front of the castle. Same kind of concept, but kind of between all of the parks, if that were possible, and probably not. But at least just being able to not have to kind of jump through hoops to get to the park. So that would be kind of my first thing, is kind of like an entry plaza, if you will. And then from there, I mean, I definitely think you can't have a castle park without a train station. I love the idea of having that there. And for those of you who remember back in the day when it really was rope drop, where they held you outside the front gates of Magic Kingdom, like I want an entry plaza that's big enough for that. I loved that idea. I loved the idea of like the train show, and they had, the family of the day that got to be there and be the first ones in the park, which I think they still do. But yeah, I think having kind of that opening train show, or at least kind of bringing that back, and a place where people can actually stand and be to see that, that would be my first thing.
I agree. I actually have that in my little notes because there's things I needed to remember when we were doing this. And it was, let's bring back the like rope drop, at least the initial entrance into the park, because I hate actually, not to jump down Main Street a bit, but the stage show blocking off your ability to go through the castle first thing in the morning. It really bothers me. So I think I loved the very first time I ever went to Disney World is when they were still doing the characters came out on top of the train station. Yeah. They did like a little thing. I love that. I think that's great. It actually may get people to get up earlier and go because that's kind of more fun. Yeah. And like I said, I think not being able to walk through the castle right away in the morning is kind of a bummer. So I agree. I also, for me, prefer the size and look of the train station that's in Walt Disney World's Magic Kingdom opposed to Disneyland. So that's what I'm envisioning.
Okay.
Yes. What were your thoughts about the train station itself?
Okay, so the station itself, I agree with you. I love the size and the feel of Walt Disney World's train station. I think it matches kind of the feel and size of the park as it exists, right? And I think as we go further into planning our ultimate park, I think that will be reflected in what we're thinking will happen with this park. But my change was I like the actual train cars better at Disneyland. I love that they look into the park. As you're going around in them, you can see the park. I love that feel. That was like the one thing that I loved, especially now. The Walt Disney World Railroad, like there is obviously like the conductor, right, that comes on and it talks about where you're traveling through, but you can't see anything. It's just all greenery. There's nothing to be seen. And I just feel like if you're going to make that an attraction, you need to include the park. So.
Yeah, I agree. I would agree with that. I do like that. I think Disneyland has 3 or 4 train cars. I'm not sure. And a couple of them have those seating facing into the park. And I think that's great. I also do like just overall the train at Disneyland, how it kind of goes through. It's a small world. And like, I think that's really cool. So yeah, no, I agree with that. And then as far as like once you're through, I'm not going to change anything about that. I love the double arches, both sides. I love, that's all great. But as far as coming inside, I really liked the City Hall and the fire station, obviously Walt's apartment. I think that, I know that that's not the original apartment, but I think bringing that into our park as a homage to him would be amazing. So I do, like, when I walk in, I do picture Disneyland's at least the left side. Like if you're facing
Yes.
the castle, the left side
Uh-huh.
of like Disneyland. I would pretty much duplicate that, put that there. And maybe kind of looking forward a little bit. I love that we have a barber shop in Walt Disney
Yes.
World.
Okay.
I think
yes,
that's
uh-huh.
awesome. So I would definitely keep that. I think that's great.
Yeah. Yeah, my left side, very much same thoughts as you. I would definitely keep City Hall. I think having that as like the hub for guest relations from like the guest standpoint, knowing that they can go there. You know, I think having that right at the entrance of the park is great. I also had it in my notes to just pick up Walt's apartment and move it over with us because, you know, even if it's not the original location, there is some kind of historical value in that, right? And I think that's, now that we know how much Disney is ingrained in the culture of America, I think that if we're building a park today, that is something that is almost like a museum piece that could be, you know, its own thing. And I think even still giving tours of that apartment and down Main Street, you know, would be the way to go.
Yeah.
So,
no, I completely agree.
I also had it in my notes for the barbershop. I love that we have the barbershop. It killed me that when, after COVID closed the parks, it wasn't reopened when we went back for my son's first birthday because I was like set on getting like the baby's first haircut ears and it's also super affordable. I'm not sure if many people knew that there was a barbershop, like a working barbershop on Main Street or not, but I was pretty surprised at like the pricing for it all, especially considering the experience that you get from those cast members. And they're all licensed like barbers. So it's not just like somebody at, you know, Disney World with scissors. So
yeah, definitely not. That would be a little sketchy.
Right.
But no, I think it's so cool. I wished I wanted to take, just like you, I had the same issue with my daughter, just to go get her little first trim there. But obviously that just, darn you, COVID. So we covered the left side of that initial like square.
Yeah.
What does your right side look like?
Okay, my right side would be very similar to Walt Disney World. So you go under the train station and you enter into this park with, you know, its nostalgia and I think I feel like the left side really, or the right side really needs to reflect the left side. So having the like town square theater there, I said for sure I want to keep that. I think that's any small town Americana, you have your city hall, you have a fire station, and you have a theater like in the central portion of that town. So I definitely said yes, keep that building, but I would change what goes in it. And here's where I would pull from, once again, kind of pulling from Disneyland. I would bring over that Great Moments with Mr. Lincoln. And I think right now, or like they're either getting ready to with the 70th anniversary, but they're doing like the Walt Disney It's a Magical Life showing there. Like I would bring that in where we can continually update the storytelling of behind the park and just like Americana. I love that idea of having that right there in the hub in Main Street. Plus, to those that love that Mickey is there,
oh God,
hold your horses. Keep in mind, we will address where I would move him or where we would move him later, but that's what I would put there. My thing that then I thought, which is over to that right side, is Tony's Town Square, which I know got a lot of hate a while back. And I do think that the restaurant has gotten better. And I don't think there's one located there in Disneyland. But so I would leave it as a restaurant, but I'm going international and I'm pulling from Disneyland Paris. I would bring over Waltz. It's like an American themed restaurant, but it celebrates like each of the dining rooms is themed to a land that's within the park. And then it also just celebrates like American cuisine and culture within this restaurant. And so not having been there, so I don't know, maybe it's terrible, but I love this idea of bringing over something that also, again, because we're taking the two places that Walt actually like physically saw and touched away, I think having something that pays tribute to him again on Main Street would be pretty cool.
So I agree. I also put that I'm bringing, like, keeping the town square from Walt Disney World. I love that. I also put that Tony's was fine with me, but I love the idea of doing the Walt's restaurant from Disneyland Paris. So I'm good with that. My heart was not set on Tony's. I just knew that I still wanted a restaurant there with that outside seating that you can kind of sit and watch things go by and stuff. So I love that. I also think that restaurant, whatever it is, should serve breakfast in the morning too. I just think it should be all day because, like, I could picture walking in, getting a bite to eat, and then being able to watch, you know, the omnibus go down the road and the horse-drawn carriage, all of that. I think it would be great. I also put, because I didn't really care about the Great Moments with Mr. Lincoln either way, but I did say I definitely wanted the Walt Disney A Magical Life with his animatronic to be in there. And I think it would be fine to rotate that. I think that'd be great. Maybe bring him in at special moments throughout the year, like his birthday and stuff, and wherever it would make sense. So I'm fine with that as well. I especially think if that restaurant is serving American food, it ties in really nice, and it's called Walt's. I also put that there's probably enough room to keep Mickey there and have this. But if you have a better idea for Mickey, I'm fine with that too. My heart is not set on that.
Yeah, I think I have a more logical place, but we can always revisit this and change it once we get to that portion of the park. So okay, what about central, the middle between the two? What are you doing with that area?
So I liked, for some reason in my head, and this is probably not true, I am envisioning Disneyland's, that square area being bigger than Walt Disney World's, which is crazy just because the park is a smaller scale. But I would like it to be the feel of, I felt like Disneyland Square there felt more cozy, and like, I just want the vibe to be like, oh, this is so nice to just chill here and sit on the benches. Just benches in general. Disneyland, if you've never been to Disneyland and you've only been to Disney World, there is a drastic difference in the amount of seating that is on Main Street.
There's so much seating.
There are benches everywhere. Like, you will not have a hard time.
No one's eating on trash cans in Disneyland.
Yes. It is actually insane. So I envision just like a very cozy place. Obviously still the flag. I love that they do the flag ceremony and stuff. I think that's great. I think that that's something that I would want in the park. What were your thoughts?
So mine was kind of the same thought process. I would put planters there that maybe have benches, kind of like we see over in the new space at kind of the entry into Epcot. Where there seems to be more places for seating. So yes, I love that idea. I also would definitely, absolutely keep the flag there at the end of Main Street. I think that celebrates Walt's love for Americana. I also think it's a great way for the parks to pay tribute, to the veterans that might be there in the park. Again, once again, we're podcasting from home, and my dog is banging on the back door. So give me just 1 second, and I will let him out, and I'll be right back. Okay, thank you so much. He is now back inside. He's ridiculous, but
we gotta love the animals.
From home. Yeah. They just make life so easy. Okay, so before we kind of move past this like entry section of the park, we just kind of talked a little bit about the flag ceremony and the flag retreat. Have you ever noticed that there are flags on top of the buildings that go all the way down Main Street?
Yes.
Did you know that those are not actual American flags?
I did, because Right? Isn't it if they were real, they would have to raise and lower them every day? Is that?
Yes. So the theory behind it is that it's representative of the number of states that were, or so like the number of stars that are on the flag were the number of states kind of at the turn of the century, which I think is pretty cool. I think it was kind of a coincidence that kind of happened, but that's what allows them to be kind of permanent fixtures on Main Street, and I thought that was kind of cool. Just a little fun fact tidbit. So,
yeah. Are we going to do that in ours, or are we going to put them up there?
Well, I think that begs the question. Once we're past this like opening plaza, do we continue with Main Street USA? Do we go into something different like they have in some of the international parks? What are your thoughts?
So I actually did think about this because I've never been to Tokyo, but I like that theirs is covered. However, I personally don't want to cover ours. And I do think I personally want to keep Main Street like that. I like the idea of keeping it going straight down into the hub, because Walt always said that having a hub spot like that with the different lands surrounding keeps people from getting lost, because they can, it's like a central spot. So I do like Main Street, and I think especially if we're going to upset people about picking up Walt's apartment, we probably should keep Main Street.
Right. I do feel like if we kept just like small town Americana just to that central piece, I do think there is, we would have to put something between there and the castle. And so for me, knowing Walt's love of Americana and, you know, this idealized version of what the American dream kind of looked like at the turn of the century, I also agree that we keep Main Street as its kind of own entity, because I think that it just, I think also people come to the nostalgia to feel there's a certain comfortability in that, right? And it's nostalgic, and it just helps, I think, kind of soothe. I don't know, at least for me, maybe I'm crazy, but like walking down Main Street makes me feel safe and protected. And, you know, talking about building this ultimate park in the state of the world these days and how fast things move, there's just something that is so simple and pure about that I also think is so ingrained within Disney and the culture of Disney, that I think to completely remove Main Street USA would be a big injustice to Disney Parks fans and just Parks fans in general.
No, I agree 100%. And I guess we could talk about like kind of the vibes of Main Street, because if people have never been to Disneyland or never been to Disney World and only went to one or the other, they do, while they're very similar, they do kind of have some differences. I really like Disneyland has actual little shops on Main Street that you can enter. Some of them do connect, some of them don't. And I love that. I also liked that, I don't know if it's just one or two, or maybe it's just one, where they have like a little porch. The shop itself has like a little porch, and there's actually rocking chairs, I believe, there. Yeah. I love that. I think that's something great. I personally think I like Disneyland's Main Street and their cinema. I like that. Was it the little animatronic in the box in the theater?
Oh, I forget her name.
That was like actually from Marceline.
Yes.
I loved that. I think that's a great way to, like, you know, really bring that together. And I did put on here, I love Carnation Cafe at Disneyland, but I would turn that into a quick service, especially if we're going to have the breakfast restaurant at the beginning.
Sure. Yeah.
I think it should be quick service, and I think it should, if we go with the look of Disneyland's Magic Kingdom, they don't have the Main Street bakery that serves Starbucks like Disney World does. Yeah. So I would have Carnation, because I'm a Starbucks girly. I'm not a Joffrey's girly. I like them both, but like if I'm going to pick, I would pick Starbucks. So I would have Carnation Cafe as more quick service, and it serves Starbucks. If we're getting really specific here, but like that's what I want.
So I was also thinking to get very specific. One thing, again, kind of a Disney history or maybe even a research rabbit hole, if you will, to have that. I wanted to bring up, so when Walt was building Disneyland, this was, a pipe dream for him, and he had to find financing all over the place. And so a lot of ways to do that was to bring in actual shops. Different partners, and, we're used to attractions and things being sponsored in the parks today, but back then it was, no, you will actually just come in and bring your shop in. And so that's the reason for a lot of those like separate shops that we see in Disneyland versus Disney World. And so kind of along the lines, I did put in my notes that there are a few that I would keep separate. But I love the Emporium that we have in Disney World. I love that it's one big shop that flows through. I think it's great from so I think I kind of idolize and romanticize Disney parks in a lot of ways, but if we're building an ultimate park, then we also have to think about some of the logistical pieces, and it gives people another option to get in and out of the park besides walking down Main Street. So logistically, I think that makes a lot of sense. So okay, so yeah. Main Street, I would keep the Emporium that we have in Disney World, but I do like the idea of separate shops, and I did call out a few of them. So I would bring over 20th Century Music Company, which is the pin shop in Disneyland. As you know, I got into pin trading.
Yes.
When we were there, and I love the idea of having a place specifically for pins and pin collectibles and pin supplies, because I just think that that's something centralized. And not that the Emporium as it exists now doesn't have like that whole wall of pins, but I think having a separate shop for it just makes a lot of sense. And then the other thing that I did want to have a separate shop for is like the Mad Hatter, which is out in Disneyland, but it is strictly for like ears and hats. And so having like those specific things that people collect in the parks, not having to have to go through a whole Emporium or a different, shop for that. I think for me that makes a lot of sense.
I agree. And I also prefer Walt Disney World's Emporium over Disneyland's. And I also like our confectionery in Disney World better as well. Uh-huh. So I would agree that I feel like at least for sure the left side, if you're looking at the castle, like if you're looking straight down to the castle, should be where it all connects. I think that's great, especially it's going to be hot in Texas too. We already discussed that. Mm-hmm. You can walk through some air conditioning on your way out. And maybe the right side having more of those different shops. And I think that's great. And what was I going to say about the end? Because I want to put Starbucks in Carnation Cafe, I don't believe we need a Main Street bakery as well. I always think it's kind of weird that it's called that, and then we have the confectionery.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if we just have more shops there or whatever, but I just wanted to address, I don't think we need both, like the Main Street bakery and the confectionery.
Yep.
I'm not sure what your thoughts were.
Yep. I completely agree. I think it makes more sense to have like a little cafe, and maybe we call it the Carnation Bakery and Cafe because it would serve some of those little pieces of food items and whatnot. And I do think that there's room, right? We brought it to Texas, so we have extra space. I think there's room to extend it, and I do think that having that like an Emporium that is, a bit larger and extending Main Street would make a lot of sense. I do think having the theater there and stuff on the other side would be good. I think we're in agreement on kind of what that left side and right side looks like. The other thing that I was going to say is, a lot of people who come to Disney, you were even talking about it the way that it is, they're not necessarily just visiting Disney all the time. And so being that this is the Castle Park kind of, I think people flock to that versus the other parks. So having something a little larger makes more sense to me, because this may be the only time that they get to go. They may not be going to like Disney Springs and World of Disney. So I think extending Main Street does make a little bit of sense there. I am completely for that idea.
Great.
So
I guess that kind of puts us to the end, like before we get, because I personally would like to keep the hub. I believe you feel that way as well.
Yes.
So we have to end it. And right now, like if we're just talking what Disney World looks like, it has Casey's Corner at the end and then the ice cream parlor. I'm all for keeping the ice cream parlor. I think that's great. Casey's Corner, I don't have a strong opinion on either way. So I'm open to what you feel about that. As far as kind of next to the ice cream parlor, I love that there's the Plaza Inn at Disneyland and it has characters only in the morning. I think it should have characters all the time.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. I like that it has the outdoor seating, so you can kind of sit there and enjoy the views of the castle. I also like the Jolly Holiday Bakery, but I don't think it needs to be there because we already have all of our bakeries and stuff. But I would love for something, and maybe you have an idea, that also has some seating outside that kind of surrounds that hub area looking at the castle. So I'm curious, maybe you have some good ideas for that.
So I completely agree. I think you have to have an ice cream shop. It's classic Americana. I don't think we have very many these days, although I think we do have one in my town, so maybe we do. But I think that kind of like classic ice cream parlor idea. And I think the fact that like it's like the Plaza ice cream parlor, and then we have in Disney World, like the Plaza restaurant, right? Like I think having those at the end of the hub makes a lot of sense. It also adds more seating for fireworks and just to hang out and in general. So I think I do agree with that. I think on the other side, we have the Plaza in Disney World, we have the Plaza on the right side, and then we have the Crystal Palace on the left side. And while I do kind of like the Crystal Palace from the standpoint of, I think it does allow for a transition, it's a nice transition kind of between this kind of exotic looking building, that is still somewhat turn of the century looking, right, into what then becomes Adventureland and that area. I do have an idea for something to put there. But before we get into that, because it would lead us then down another land, I want to talk castles for a minute.
Okay.
So we have obviously, like, we're at the end of Main Street, right? We have walked up. What are we staring at? What, in your opinion? And if you'd like, I did do a bit of like pulling together information from the different parks around the world, and so I can give kind of a little bit of history, or kind of explain what the difference is, because I think a lot of people see the castles and just like, especially if you're not a huge Disney fan, it's a castle, right? So if you'll indulge me, if you don't mind, I do have a little bit of a tangent to go on about Disney castles.
We should make this a thing, like Chrissy's tangent tagline. I don't know. We'll have to make it something. Okay, I'm ready for it.
We'll have to hashtag it.
Hashtag it. All right, I'm ready.
We know the original castle was built in Disneyland. It's the original park. Did you know that? So the castle is named Sleeping Beauty Castle, not Sleeping Beauty's castle, but Sleeping Beauty Castle. Did you know Sleeping Beauty had not yet come out when this was built?
I do.
Super smart promo piece,
yeah.
Right? Like getting you excited for this new film. Genius. Not that anyone would argue that Walt Disney is a genius, but genius move. So that castle is only 77 feet in height. Obviously, it was built in 1955. It's like got a charming, intimate feel. That's what we're going to call it. It's not a tiny castle. It's a charming, intimate feel castle. It does have its own walkthrough attraction in the castle. And fun fact for you, it has an operational drawbridge. The only time that drawbridge has ever been in operation was opening day, and then when they redid or revamped Fantasyland, I think it was like 1983. So that's the only 2 times that the drawbridge has ever moved, but it does function. So that's one option for a castle in our park. Then we of course have Cinderella Castle. It is probably the most iconic Disney castle, most well known. I think when people think Disney castles, that's the one they think of. It's got like royal grandeur. It's like I said, it's the most iconic. It is 189 feet tall. And so and Steph, being a Disney Parks fan, you probably know this, but do you know why it is not taller?
It would have to have a flashing light on it for the airplanes.
It would have to have a flashing light. Yep. FAA regulations require structures taller than 200 feet to have a indicator light. However, this is not the tallest structure within Walt Disney World itself. I think Hollywood Studios' Tower of Terror comes in at a whopping 199.5 feet. So they were really pushing that. But yeah. Okay, so moving on from there, we have... So we've got Sleeping Beauty Castle in Disneyland Paris. So built in 1992 when the park opened, it is 164 feet tall. It has that French Gothic inspired design. We know that there are beautiful castles throughout all of France. So Disney really had to come up with something that was really fantastical and really a fantasy castle. And so when they did it, they kind of matched not only just like this beautiful castle, which honestly is probably one of my favorite castles in all the Disney parks, but they also surrounded it with this fantasy like forest to really kind of match that vibe. So, and then it also has a walkthrough attraction. Really cool thing is it has a basement with an animatronic dragon, and if you haven't seen it, it's basically like a Maleficent in the basement, and it is sleeping, and you don't want to wake it up. Let's see here. Okay, Tokyo Disneyland. So theirs is also a Cinderella castle. It has a European castle design. It was built in 1983. And it has like this walkthrough attraction that while Sleeping Beauty Castle in California has, the story of Sleeping Beauty, this one has the story of Cinderella. It is actually a smaller version of Walt Disney World's castle, almost to a T, which makes sense. And I think they even said in the Imagineering story that like not only did Tokyo want that iconic castle for its own park, but they didn't really have time when they were designing Epcot to also design a brand new castle. So, okay, so we have the Castle of Magical Dreams in Hong Kong. This one is also, so it started out at 77 feet. It was actually a replica of the castle in Disneyland. However, in 2018, it was redesigned, and it has elements of every Disney princess within its redesign. So when you're looking at a picture of the castle there in Hong Kong, you'll see the front kind of portion looks exactly like Disneyland. It's kind of a, forgive me for this really weird word, but a squatty kind of castle, right? And then it has these really tall pieces that were added on. They called it the Castle of Magical Dreams. It has kind of gender inclusive themes, which is really kind of cool and unique. It also has a Bippity Boppity Boutique inside. And like I said, there's going to be nods to different princesses throughout the elements that are on the castle, like seashells for Ariel and that. And then finally, we have the Enchanted Storybook Castle at Shanghai. This one is also themed for all of the princesses. It stands at 197 feet, making it the largest or tallest castle. It has Chinese architectural influences, but it is also a multi-level interactive attraction. It even has a boat ride going through it, a restaurant, a walkthrough adventure, and it has its own version of Bippity Boppity Boutique inside. So, any ideas for which castle design we would bring to our park?
I don't think you were going to expect this. I actually, you're watching the Disney films and the first thing you see is what? A castle. I want that castle in here because why is it not in one of the parks? They use it in the beginning of every single film, every single Walt Disney film. Yeah. This beautiful castle, and I think it's gorgeous. It very much makes me feel like the Walt Disney World one, but with, how in Walt Disney World there's the two pillars that are kind of off to the side that actually serve, I think, as like production for the shows. It almost seems like those are connected into an archway kind of in front of it. But that's the castle I want. What were your thoughts?
So I very much was kind of in the same mindset. And I do feel like the one in Shanghai looks very, very similar to that. It's like more than... I know they're all three-dimensional. Don't come at me, okay? But like the one in Shanghai, it obviously has all of the space for those attractions. So it is bigger. It's deeper, right? Like it's... And that's what I feel like we see, especially in the new animated versions of the opening credits, where you kind of circle around the castle, right? You see all of those kind of components. I think that's... So I didn't even think to bring in the intro credit castle and make that a reality. I was thinking we have to bring it from another park. And so I would say if I was bringing it from another park, it would be, the one from Shanghai. But if we're building a new castle for our brand new park, I say, why not? So tell me this then, if you're bringing in a castle, are you putting anything inside of it? If we're building a brand new castle, what are you putting inside it, if anything?
I'm not sure. I think it's fine that Cinderella's Royal Table's in there, but if we're building a new castle, is it going to be called Cinderella Castle? Probably not. I don't know what we would call it now. And also, just so you know, that idea literally just hit me while you were talking about castles, because I was like, wait a minute. I think before I ever even went to Walt Disney World, and then I finally did and realized that castle doesn't even look like the one that's in the opening credits of all these movies. I'm like, why not? Because that one's gorgeous and beautiful. And so yeah, I'm definitely open to putting some things in there. I love that there's the walkthrough in Disneyland and some of the other Disney parks of a story. So maybe we could put some sort of story in there, and maybe it doesn't even have to be a princess story. Maybe it can be telling the tale of the building of this park or Walt Disney history. I'm not sure. Is this where you wanted to put Mickey?
No.
Okay, good. Because I was like, wait a minute. I feel like Mickey doesn't go in a castle, but
Mickey doesn't. No. I mean, unless it's the Three Musketeers version of Mickey. No, I don't think he goes in a castle.
No.
Okay, hear me out, because I just wrote this down as you were talking. Because I have seen like the photos of the expansive castle there in Hong Kong or Shanghai, I feel like maybe it's time for Belle to get her moment. And she has her own castle. And the Beast built it for her because she is worthy of it. And we put in Be Our Guest restaurant and the ballroom scene in that castle. That's what I would do.
I'm down for that. Okay.
Because it may or may not be like my favorite princess movie. I remember the first time that I walked into Be Our Guest restaurant and I was blown away. Like, the floor is the floor and the windows are the windows, and it felt super immersive, right? And like, I just stepped in to this movie that I've grown up watching. Maybe it's the like millennial in me, I don't know.
No.
But I feel like it's time. We need that.
I agree. I love that. But I have some questions about that when we get to Fantasyland, though. Are we going to have, like, some duplicates? Because you want to be our guest, but maybe I want to bring in something else from another international park. So we may have to come back to that idea.
Come back to that one. Uh-huh.
So we got our castle. I think we decided on something in between that Shanghai, the opening credits, Disney castle. Yeah. Like, that's the vibe we're going through. Big, glorious castle. The hub area, I love Walt Disney Worlds. I would like to keep the hub grass where you can sit and it being a bit more open, less trees. Disneyland has trees. I mean, so do we.
We were talking about that the whole time we were there. It was, yeah.
And I think people are going to be like, what do you mean? Like, what's so bad about trees? Trees are great. However, Disneyland's castle is 77 feet tall is what you said, right? And they also have started to do projections on their castle with their shows. And if you are stuck behind said tree, you cannot see them. So I definitely obviously want some life in the hub, but maybe not large trees. And maybe because our castle is going to be so big, that won't be a factor. But I think we should probably touch base on fireworks shows.
Yeah, we need to do that, and parades. But before we do that, in your hub, are you keeping the partner statue?
150 million% yes.
Okay, thank God. We were going to have a fight if you were not.
No.
I mean, hello, it's on my ears today for a reason. I think, we talked about it a lot when we talked about picking our location and really connecting everything back to Walt and this idea of, like, being a dreamer. And yeah, I think there's no doubt in my mind that tribute has to remain in whatever Disney park we would build.
I agree, 100%. Yeah.
So, okay. So, parades first or fireworks? Because I got some thoughts.
Ooh, she has thoughts. Okay. I need about a 4-minute break to just get some water. If we could do that, and then we'll come back and talk about fireworks and parades.
I think that sounds amazing.
Let's do parades, because I feel like fireworks is big. And I'm not so much, my heart's not set on any parades, really. So,
okay.
I'm ready.
Okay. Okay, so we know that there are obviously different versions of parades at different parks. I did go through and kind of pull some information around some of the parades, and I really tried to only pull for the parades that are currently in existence when I'm giving you some of this background information to have. So Magic Happens, which I know is no longer a thing at Disneyland. Yes, I know. We didn't catch it. Was it there when we were there? Was it happening?
They didn't have any parades while we were there. Actually,
okay.
They had just
because I don't remember catching
ended something else they had brought back again, and they had just ended it. And I think Magic Happens they brought back a few weeks after we left. If that's the case, I don't remember, but it wasn't going on when we were there.
Okay. And to be honest, I don't think it's still going on. I think they've put a pause on it now, right? Or maybe the last one was maybe in May, maybe I don't know. But Magic Happen was Disneyland's version of their 3:00 parade or daytime parade. It included characters like Mickey, Moana, Coco, Frozen, some of the classic animated characters, including like Merlin, right? So going way back. And then obviously the princesses. Then, like, I will say for this one, I had to watch it a couple of times on YouTube. I feel like the music was a bit more like upbeat and like it just, and this is gonna sound weird, but it almost had like this salsa kind of feel, or like some like kind of Latin influences. It was really like quick paced, and I did enjoy that. So then there's Festival of Fantasy, which is currently at Walt Disney World. It does include the princesses, Frozen, Tangled, the characters from those movies, Little Mermaid, Peter Pan, Merida from Brave. She has her own float. Sleeping Beauty, we have the steampunk Maleficent Dragon. And then we do have like the classic animated characters as well, like Winnie the Pooh. And then we end the parade with Mickey and Minnie in their hot air balloon. So then Disneyland, Disneyland Paris has or had, I cannot remember if it's currently going on, but the most recent parade was Disney Stars on parade. This one had like Tinkerbell, Mickey and Friends, Aladdin, Mary Poppins, Alice and the Mad Hatter, Pinocchio, right? Some of those classic characters, plus ones that we don't really see very often in parades, Lion King, Jungle Book, Peter Pan, Finding Nemo, Sleeping Beauty, Maleficent, and of course the princesses. One thing, like I did note, like this was a long parade. It had a lot of floats and a lot of characters. And then there is a brand new parade, which we haven't seen a whole lot, coming to Hong Kong Disneyland here this summer, called Friendtastic, which I don't have a lot of information on, unfortunately. So, what are your thoughts? I know you said you don't have super strong ideas.
I think that personally, if we're just talking about Walt Disney World for a hot second, I'm over the Festival of Fantasy parade. It's been going on for far too long.
Oh, you hurt my heart.
We don't ever watch it as a family, ever. I think we've watched it one time. Like, so and say, oh yeah, we did that. I absolutely love Magic Happens in Disneyland. But I also feel like if that's the only thing they do every single day, every time you go, and this is coming from somebody that goes to Walt Disney World often, so like I have a chance to see it more. I understand that there's people that go only one time in their lifetime and that they're going to love Festival of Fantasy. It's a good parade. I just personally am a bit over it. We need something fresh. So in my park, our park, I would like something a little more fresh. Maybe we can kind of mash up some things. In my perfect world, we would have characters from all of our lands, however many lands we decide on, represented into this parade.
Yes.
So I have a feeling you have a strong opinion on Festival of Fantasy, so I'm a little concerned.
Okay, I think I actually might surprise you then. I love Festival of Fantasy. This is my ultimate parade. Probably because I have that like nostalgia with it, right? Like, also my sisters and I, we started it a number of years ago, which you're right, we have had it for a while because this has been a tradition for a while. But every time the Tangled float comes by, we yell at Flynn Rider and see if he'll wink at us, because he's just a heartthrob, you know. And like we are 4 for 5. And I really can't count the 5th one because it was just me, not my sisters. So I'm like 4.5. But he always winks. And also because it wasn't this last year, March, year before. My sisters and I and my mother went for a girls' trip. And we actually got picked to be Grand Marshals, which was like end all be all, like Disney dreams, like I still pinch myself that it happened. And obviously that was happening right before Festival of Fantasy. So I do love Festival of Fantasy. And there's a part of me that doesn't want to see that kind of thing go away. But I get it. I understand. And I will say, having now watched and looked at all of the parades, I loved Disney Stars on Parade from Disneyland Paris. There were so many characters, and these floats were gorgeous floats. I just, obviously we would have to probably shorten it a little bit, although maybe not, I don't know. But there were just so many characters to be seen in this parade, and the floats really were beautiful, and they made sense. It wasn't like Festival of Fantasy where there's like a few that you're like, what is happening on that float? I don't understand it. And once you realize it's tied to like a circus theme, you get it, but otherwise it's like very weird. So I would probably pick up Disney Stars on Parade and bring it to our park. I also think that if we're talking about our park being this like vision of like classic animated characters and princesses, you have to show that. I do love, when you said it, I do love the idea of it featuring basically like the IP that's in our park. And so maybe that's where we kind of combine or kind of handpick which floats we're having. But I do think that for me, the Disneyland Paris Parade would be what we should include.
Okay. Yeah. I think I can settle on that. I'm going to have to watch it because personally I've never seen it, but I think that's great. And as long as it's not Festival of Fantasy, I'm good.
What are you talking? You don't love you don't want to hear it's the Festival of Fantasy.
I don't.
You don't want to hear that all over again?
Wait until I tell you that I'm kind of over Boo to You too. Like, I love it.
Boo to You does get repetitive. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
I'll give it that.
Okay, so we have our parade. Or we have the idea of our parade. Mm-hmm. Fireworks show. I want to just start by saying I have a very, very strong attachment to Happily Ever After. Like, the first time we ever took my son, he was just barely 18 months, and he just sat in my husband's arms, not on his shoulders, on his arms. We're not those people. And just pointed. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So we have a very, very strong.
That gave me goosebumps.
Oh my gosh. Like,
yes.
I cry when I hear it. When it went away for a little bit, I was very sad because I didn't get to see it one last time. And now it's back, so it's okay. So I have a very strong heart attachment to Happily Ever After. Mm-hmm. However, last year we went to the Disney After Hours at Magic Kingdom, and if you don't know this, you get to see 2 fireworks shows during the after hours.
Yes.
You get to see Happily Ever After because you get into the park early enough to see it. And then they do a special showing of Enchantment, which was the 50th anniversary fireworks that went away with the 50th anniversary because people hated it. I only had one other chance to see it while it was in show, like for real, but it got rained out or delayed for rain, and my mom and I was surprising her for Be Our Guest because she also loves Beauty and the Beast. So I didn't get to see it, but the song I loved already of Enchantment. I somehow became emotional with that through COVID and stuff. So seeing it for the first time during After Hours, everybody sat for the show. Everybody sat for fireworks in Disney World. You weren't on top of everyone. I absolutely loved it. I think it got way too much hate because of how people felt so strongly about Happily Ever After.
Yeah.
And I think Enchantment's a great show. But I think for our park, I would be okay with not having one set fireworks show, the same one every night of the week. I would be okay with kind of switching it up sometimes or switching it up halfway through the year. Yeah, I don't know. What are your thoughts on the fireworks?
I, like you, am also tied very strongly to Happily Ever After. Even though the first time we took my oldest was during Enchantment, he slept through the whole show. He was 1. I don't blame him. But it was the first big family trip we took, and my niece and nephew were singing along, same way you're like pointing and just enjoying themselves, and like as like a mom and as like I'm obsessed with my niece and nephew. I can't I can't tell you what that feeling is like when you get to see them experience something that brings you joy. I'm not going to cry. This is silly. We're just talking about it. Woo, okay. But seeing them have that same kind of joy is just... And so I am someone who cries at, like, the fireworks show every time.
As soon as the music starts.
Yeah. Yeah. Look, I'm not even watching it right now, and I'm on the verge of tears. So yes, so that's me in a nutshell. But I think, so I do agree that Happily Ever After has been here for a while, and I love it. Oh my God, I love it so much. And if we had to pick one to do every night, for me, it would be Happily Ever After. However, I'm also adding in, every night there, and I'm assuming they still kind of do it, but I have not been, they had the goodnight kiss, right? And so I also love the idea, and part of this is nostalgic for me too, of bringing back wishes or portions of wishes at the very end of the night when the park closes. So we've had our fireworks, and then about an hour later when things are all said and done, I think having just that bit of like music and a little bit of fireworks to send everybody out is really great. Also, my husband and I honeymooned in Disney, and that was the fireworks show that was happening. Back then, there were no projections on the castle. It was just lights, lighting up the castle in different ways. And so there's that bit. I do think that if we could rotate them out or have bits of pieces of it and mash them together, I would do all that.
I agree. Wishes was actually still going on the first time I ever went to Disney World. This was in 2016, so Happily Ever After didn't come in until 2017. So I think just it's Jiminy Cricket talking, right? Mm-hmm. Him talking is enough to get me into tears. So I would love for him to be like, as you're leaving, like him saying those words. I can't think of them right now, but like he has those things like, dream big, you can do this type of vibe, and I love that. That's why I like Happily Ever After too, like reach out. I'm gonna cry about it.
Right. I know, right? It's ridiculous. We're terrible people. This is awful. Like, what? Who does that?
I have no idea.
Yes, no, I have a shirt that has the lyrics to Wishes on it. Like, it's, yeah. Or we take Wishes, put it with projections. Done. I would take
agree.
That in a heartbeat.
I actually don't know why they didn't do that for the 50th. They could have revamped it, obviously, but like, I'm actually shocked that that's not what they did. I know why they didn't. They wanted something new and fresh, and it made sense. It just wasn't celebrating enough of the last 50 years for most people, which I also understand. Yeah. So, but yeah.
And I think Wishes just in general has that overall like fantasy vibe, right? It's much less about the intellectual property that you see in their projections like Happily Ever After is. And as much as I do love being able to sing along to my favorite songs during a fireworks show, I think there is something to be said about having, if they were to put projections, because we all know the sounds and the music that's in that is very reflective of our favorite Disney classics. And if we're, again, going back to the overall theme of what a castle park is, right? Fantasy and imagination and magic. I think that's almost the perfect fireworks show for that. So
I agree.
So are we in agreement that we would say take the music from Wishes, add projections, and that would be our fireworks show?
Yeah, I think so. And I think maybe on special occasions or whatever, we can do Happily Ever After every once in a while.
Yeah.
Like, also, when we were talking about parades, we kind of missed a big one. Are we doing a nighttime parade?
I was just going to go there. So, yes. Completely, 100% yes. Oh my God, I'm totally blanking, but the
Starlight, the new one?
No, electric.
Main
The
Street
electric parade.
Yeah.
Yes, Main Street Electrical Parade. I was like, it's electric something. Like I remember seeing that when I was a kid, right? So like that, like super technical,
The
like
music's great.
computerized
Yeah.
music, right?
Yep.
Like stop, I can't. When they took away that parade at nighttime, I was so sad. So I do think we need to have another parade. The question is, will the Disney Starlight, which less than a month away,
Yeah.
which is crazy. We've seen artist renderings of some of the floats. Does it do the electrical parade justice? We'll find out.
Yeah, I'll be curious. Maybe we don't need to decide this until we know.
I was just going to say, I almost feel like perhaps we need to hold off on
a
deciding
decision.
if, until we see that.
I agree.
Yeah.
So, do you feel like we've covered our Main Street and our hub well? Is there anything else that we're adding or taking away? Or do you feel like we've kind of covered it? We've got the idea. There are a couple things that we said that we're probably going to piece back together as we get more information or as we dive into other sections. So
I feel like we've done it justice. We have, I think we mentioned the Streetmosphere, Main Street vehicles, the horse and carriage, Dapper Dan's, right? The smells and the sounds and all of that. I think you keep that classic nostalgia feeling. I think I do think that our park will need a longer Main Street, just to kind of recap. I think also to do the size of our castle justice, I think we have to have a larger hub, and we have to you almost have to elongate Main Street just to, like I said, to do that justice. So I think that does Main Street justice.
I think so too. So do we want to start to the left side, or are we going to start with Adventureland, do you think?
I have some ideas about that.
Me too. And I feel like I wore the appropriate shirt. But I think we'll have to save that for next episode because we're done with time here. So I guess we'll have to wrap that up and move on and leave you on a teaser about my shirt and what we're doing.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think, listen, I think if you want to find out more, you'll just have to listen.
You'll just have to listen.